Fellas, we are back. We are back for week 3 of the Alive Talks podcast. We got Taylor, we got Christian, yours truly. Alive podcast. At Alive Talks, we explore life's questions, challenges, and opportunities with the perspective of always living in a view of eternity. As 20-something-year-olds striving for purpose and impact, we dive into a new topic each week, sharing honest thoughts, raw experiences, and a vision rooted in something greater. Our mission is to inspire others to live boldly, think deeply, and pursue a life that matters today and forever. And with that, we are going to kick off with honest conversations.
Honest conversations.
All right.
Couldn't ask for a better person to have it with. Taylor, we appreciate you coming on. Before we get into it, though,
Okay.
today's a special day.
That's it.
Yeah.
Really special day.
A really special day, and I brought a little something special that we're going to share right now.
Okay.
I brought some cupcakes.
Oh.
For those who don't know, because nobody would know
Make
this.
it quick. Make it quick.
I'm going. For those who don't know
Run.
nobody would know this. Last year for Jacob Bull's birthday,
What?
I surprised him with cupcakes.
That he
Doing
did.
the same now. We're all going to have a cupcake. What?
Check the label. Check the label. Let's
It's
make
not
sure
free.
that I am
We're
not
good.
going to die. Whoa,
It's
whoa,
not
whoa,
free,
whoa,
good.
whoa, 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 whoa.
You don't have
Folks
to.
here. Folks here.
It's not free. We're good. Maybe
No,
not.
beautiful, beautiful. We are having a cupcake with Taylor.
What?
Are they aware?
No,
Now they are
pissed.
aware. Now they are aware that I have a
Alright,
severe
well-
peanut allergy.
Everybody get in there.
Bro, Cuddy.
Get in there. I know you
I
are.
don't care if you're cutting. You're eating cupcake. It's your
You know, at
birthday.
least a bite of it. Yeah,
Alright,
but
I'll get
for
a bite,
real,
I'll get a bite.
happy birthday, Taylor. We
Thank
just want to
you.
say we appreciate you, the friend that you are in our lives. And we're super, super grateful that you're here to have a little conversation with us.
This looks pretty fire.
Red Velvet's my favorite flavor. So,
All right, Taylor gets first bite.
Cheers. Go ahead.
Cheers. Cheers.
That was pretty bomb.
What do you give it on a scale of 1 to 10 right now?
Dude, it's like a solid 8.9.
I didn't take a bite.
Give it a
Good.
rip. It's a fire
Alright.
cupcake.
Oh
Let's get serious now. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
Taylor. Little introduction. Who are you? What's your major? What are you doing here? What year are you? Like, tell me what's going on. Who's
Just
Taylor?
feeling
Just a little
chill.
introduction.
Right, so yeah, I'm Taylor. Today's 22. 22 today. I'm studying mechanical engineering. And yeah, I'm from Central Indiana, which is pretty close to
out.
this guy.
That's right.
It's kind of crazy that you live in the same state as somebody for your entire life and never know they exist. And then we kind of end up here, sitting on a couch, talking about honest conversations. But yeah, that's it, man. I'm a very simple dude. Not much to talk about.
Very simple.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of like the model right now is like honest and simple conversations. Like you don't have to make these things way too complicated. But Alive, it's an acronym. I mean, it's always living in a view of eternity. So how does honest conversations play into that alive perspective? Like, I mean, we're gonna be having conversations until hopefully when we're 80, 90. I mean,
Right.
even get to that point of our life if we're lucky. But honest conversations is something that helps ground us into that alive perspective in our lives. So how do you see yourself kind of intermingling that with honest conversations in the live acronym?
Right. Well, I think to live in a view of eternity, you need to live with people, and I feel like those conversations that are honest and raw and just like are vulnerable are the ones that are gonna allow you to live with those bonds, those brotherhoods, those friendships, eternally. Ones that you could. That was a big bite, Jacob.
And I'm getting a little.
Yeah, I think it's important to ground yourself in those conversations and those friendships, because those people around you will guide you to your eternal life with Christ.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I think, like you said, the simpler, the less things you get out of the conversation. Just kind of getting to the point of things allows you to really have better conversations with people. It makes you more attractive to people to speak with. And I love what you said about vulnerability, because I heard a quote. I don't think it was last semester. I don't know what it was, but it was vulnerability creates community. And when you really come down to it, community is people, right? And so it's those conversations that happen. But what role, in your opinion, as it kind of plays into the broader spectrum of honest conversation. What role does vulnerability play in building deeper relationships and trust with people? Like, how's that played out in your life? How have you seen the positive effects from that, the negative effects from that? How have you witnessed in other people's lives of like, ooh, they maybe should have been honest there, and they weren't. And so that kind of, led to that. Like, what would you say about that?
I mean, honestly, I feel like vulnerability is so important. I feel like even just like for you two, like I'm not a very vulnerable person oftentimes, just because I'm a prideful guy and I don't like touching like my feelings and stuff. And but even like in the times where I was vulnerable with the two of you, I feel like that for me allows me to trust you, and then I feel like me being vulnerable with you allows you to trust me.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I think vulnerability is important. I think there's obviously like there has to be discretion with it. But yeah, I do think it's super crucial to like the bonds and relationships that you form with people.
Yeah.
And sure. Also like tying into, because like one of my faults I had again with this semester was pride. Honest conversations, and how do we like ground each other?
So I can't even answer that because I haven't found the balance for it yet. So that's something that I gotta work on.
Is that something you think you'll find later down the road? I mean, you're 20 something. I mean, you're 22. You just turned 22.
20 something.
Right. And so I mean, it's like right in our bio, right in our mission statement. But like you're 22. You're still trying to figure things out. Like when do you think you'll figure it out? When you ever figure it out? Of finding that balance.
Yeah, I mean, I'll figure it out. It just I think time is and as I mature, I think I'll get that discretion. But I got a lot of growing up to do still, so I think that'll come with it.
Yeah, I think through experience, that's where you kind of get that when you're forced to be in situations where it's like, oh, maybe in the past I would have handled this just very bluntly and been like super prideful and arrogant about it. But now, for whatever reason, that pattern is interrupted. It's like, oh, let me take a step back and think, how should I go about this? And I think, in my personal opinion, one of the ways that I've kind of found it to be best is, I think you always start it, and the way I've always tried to do things is when I'm having that like honest conversation with somebody, is like always get them to reassure themselves that they respect you and your opinion. And so anytime I've gone about anything, it's always been like, hey, I want to talk to you about something. Do you respect what I think of you? Do you respect my opinion enough to what I'm seeing from the outside is kind of what's going on, And I think just reaffirming it with love, just like, I do this because, I love you. And I want to see you continue to grow. I want to see you to get better at balancing those things. And so I don't really think you handled it the best way, I think you could have gone better. I think you're falling in this situation. And last week I know Jay touched on a little bit about how his kind of coming up, he had some people around him and has had people around him at Liberty that have said to him like, hey, chill out a little bit. And he's had those people come around him and have those conversations with him. And so I think that's super important. And yeah, I think making sure that the person you're going to this with, you've been through enough with them,
Right.
and you also have a little bit of, not credentials behind your name, but enough with them personally.
Right.
You're like, yo,
Right.
I'm kind of seeing this, you respect me enough to know where I'm coming from with this, and I just don't think it's, it's really tricky to do it to somebody random. Like, it's hard to go to somebody and be like, you're doing this wrong. And it's like, well, bro,
Right, yeah.
frig off,
Yeah.
there's nothing there to go off of. And so, yeah, I think it's just, kind of approaching it with love and making sure that you reaffirm that. And then, yeah, just like, you know what, you respect me enough that I see this. And I think being vulnerable with the other person to know that, you know what, I could be wrong too. Like, I try to be humble enough to say, I think I know what I'm doing, I think this is what I'm seeing, but I could totally be wrong as well.
Right.
And we could both be just some 20-year-old somethings that are just being stupid here, and we both don't have it figured out.
Yeah.
And so I think the, kind of tag on with that is like, how do you handle the pride aspect is surround yourself with people that will keep you humble and check you. And then also keep yourself humble. I think, the Lord will humble you, and I think the more time you spend in the Word and in prayer and looking at things within a live perspective, the more humble you're going to be, because who am I against the Lord, for real.
Like also, like I'm thinking though too, it's like, how do we find those community groups outside of college? Like when we both graduate, where are we going to find that community? Because I mean, we're living in a very incubated, like, society, community right now where you have, I would say Liberty are very genuine people. There's also like a lot of ingenuine people at Liberty, but I feel like a lot of people are very genuine. We're grounded in our faith. We have a lot of similar interests. We are very grounded, again, with our faith at Liberty. But where do we find that community outside of Liberty? Because I mean, everybody hears about this Liberty bubble we're in, but like, how do you find those honest conversations in the workplace? How do you find those honest conversations in your family? How do you find those conversations like what a favorite hobby might be? Like where do you find those, do you think, after you leave Liberty?
I think that's where like intentionality comes into play. Like I feel like you have to actively search that. So I'm very fortunate. Like my family, I grew up in the church, and they're amazing, Christ-fearing people.
Yeah.
And then all my friends, I have a friend groups, the same friend groups since middle school, and we all love and serve the Lord. And so I'm very fortunate to where like I haven't had to super search out like other people.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, I'm here. Home is 9 hours away. And so for me, it took a while to find that kind of group. It was just more just classmates, and honestly, like, you guys are like the first friend group that I actively like hang out with. But it was important, like, to find like genuine people.
Now, when you were like searching and seeking out for that genuine group of people, like,
Right.
did you change yourself at all? Did you stay true to who you were? Like, how does that change?
Staying authentic to yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
authentic to yourself, but like you also have to adapt.
Right.
Like we're Christian and I are very different. than you
Right.
two. Like we're hockey players.
Right.
I didn't know how to describe it, but I mean we're like-minded individuals, but with very different backgrounds and stuff like that. So like how does that come within that?
Yeah. As odd as it sounds, I feel like during that time I wasn't actively searching for a friend group.
Yeah.
My whole life was school, the gym, and I played a copious amount of Xbox. And it was really bad. I got pretty fat, but I just actively wasn't searching. It's just, and I feel like I know like God putting you two like in my life was like such a God thing, and people to kind of just get me off my tush and chase things. That's what I've always loved about the two of you, is like you guys are such like dream chasers and goal chasers, and that's kind of always the people that my dad told me to chase, like to hang out with, just because who you hang out with will determine like how you behave as well. And so I wasn't like super, man, I need friends. Like, because like my friends back home were all I needed.
Right.
Which sounds kind of like bad, but like, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Let's touch a little bit on like, kind of, you said, we kind of just I feel like, I mean, even the way that him and I came into each other's lives was kind of just one of those, like,
Yeah.
God just made it happen, like, type thing. And even the way that, like,
yeah.
we came into each other's lives, us three,
Right.
and, you know, us and then you guys. But talk a little bit about that, because I genuinely don't remember the first time we ever met. I don't know if it was a blur. I don't know when it happened. But I remember, like, seeing you around, I think. I think it was when I was working in the pro shop with Jamie, and I think that's when the concessions...
I thought it was a gym.
Right.
I thought it was a gym.
So, like,
I think it was... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you have a better memory, but come talk about that a little bit.
So.
Like, when we officially met, or, like, started to hang out, and then you guys...
So me and Bull had class together.
Really?
Yeah, it was a
That
random
is right.
personal
Health
health class.
216.
Yeah, Health 216
Dr.
together,
Giles.
freshman year.
Yeah.
Not freshman year,
We
sophomore
didn't
year.
pay a lick of attention in that class. At least I know I
had no
did.
idea.
I got an A in that class.
I think everybody did. Yeah.
Oh,
You didn't get an A in that class?
I did get an A in that class. I'm saying, you're not special for anything.
Oh, frick.
But it turned into like, I mean, me and Bull didn't really talk. It was more of like, yo, what's up, man? When he came in, and that was kind of it. And then we were at that time, we were both 5:30 in the morning gym goers. So I would always see you, but then you were always right next to him. And then so it kind of just
Sidekick.
No, it's not what I was
Just
just.
no. It's a little side piece.
Sidekick.
It's a little side piece.
Inside, it'd always be like just us three talking a little bit in the gym during our workout, and then I found out you were working at the pro shop, and so we would work concessions for like football games stuff together, and then. Anytime you're around a guy named Jamie Ross, everything's kind of lighthearted and easy going. And so we would just goof off in the stand together. And then, however, I don't know the first time we hung out outside of concessions.
I have no idea, because that would have been in the fall of last year.
Yeah. It's
and
kind of one of those friendships where I feel like I've known you for like way longer than I have.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's, like, it's hard to pinpoint that kind of
100%. Yeah. It's a weird one. But it is interesting how that just kind of... Because like I said, for me, I feel like it's a blur. I have no idea when you officially entered my life.
Right.
But I know as far as I can think back, like, I know freshman year you weren't there, but like, it was just kind of like, I feel like he's always been there. But he wasn't. Like, he wasn't there freshman year. I had no idea who he was, and then we kind of just fell on each other's plates, you know?
Yeah.
But kind of coming back to like the authentic conversations, what would you say are the advantages? Because you said you're a pretty blunt person.
Right.
I'd like to think all three of us are fairly blunt people.
Right.
Like to kind of say it how it is. And what do you think are the advantages to that? And then what do you think are the downsides to that, where people can maybe mistake that bluntness for something that you don't mean it for? What would you say are those disadvantages and advantages?
I think disadvantages oftentimes are easier to pick up on because I feel like your tone is so important when telling people stuff like that.
True.
And like you have to make sure you're coming. Like you can tell it blunt, but you can still tell it with love. And so having being able to distinguish between the two, or not even distinguish, but like kind of combine the two into dude, I love you, but like you got what the heck are you doing?
Right.
Is like it's important to convey that. But yeah, I feel like the advantage is I feel like when you tell someone like really how it is, I feel like if they're mature as themselves, they're gonna know like, okay, this guy really cares about me, he loves me, like he's telling me this for a good reason. So
yeah, it further builds that trust.
Right,
Like it's the vulnerability aspect that just continues to reinforce. Like I know if you two were to say something to me, if I'm not in a prideful moment, then I'm gonna take a step. I'm gonna take a second and take a step back and say, all right, are they right on this? Like, have I been a little bit, or I'm gonna, be like, you know what, I disagree. And I think that's also a piece of it is having those mature enough relationships where if somebody does take the time to step back, that you're willing to deal with them stepping back up and saying, you know what, I disagree here. Like, I think you're saying this wrong. And having enough respect to handle that conversation, like men and like mature adults.
Yeah, that's good. You kind of touched before, like dreams. What dreams are you chasing right now? Honesty. What dreams are you chasing?
Dude, I'm just trying to graduate.
That's honest.
I feel like school is just my number one thing. Number two, sorry, Laura comes first. But like I'm
right.
Man, I just outside of school, my ambitions are a little low, which sounds, I don't know, I think it's kind of appropriate for a college student, but really trying to bring Murph more to life next year. So I know we're starting up soon, and so I'm super excited to take that hype with Kyle and the whole team. And then I'm just trying to like get jacked and stuff as well. It just helps a little bit, but
trying to lose that Xbox fat.
Yeah, dude. Freaking the ramen noodles at midnight pack. That's the fat. Yeah.
And any half marathons coming up?
Oh, I don't think I'm gonna dabble in that aspect, Mr. Bull. I'm gonna stick to my Stairmaster and incline walking.
Yep. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
You can do your 100-mile race in freaking June.
July. All right, get it right.
Get it right. Extra month of training. He's gonna need it.
I will need it. I will be bloody feet, stress fractures.
It's gonna run 100 miles. It's less than 6 months.
I can do it. I can do it.
I believe it.
I can do it.
I believe it
I probably will die.
You're gonna go to the hospital. But I believe
I'll probably have a heart attack, stroke. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah.
On my bike.
Nothing is bad. Nothing is as bad as the trail half marathon run though.
100 miles will be great horse, promise you.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be close.
Dude, I'll be on Oceanside, California.
I'll be
on my Top Gun phase, my Top Gun Maverick phase.
You're gonna fall.
Stash, and I'm growing off the flow too. Growing off the flow.
It's gonna make it even hotter, Chicken Bull.
Yeah, should do the runner's mullet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yourself some. Are Oakley's the runners like? Isn't that like the runners?
I don't know. Is it like
I think
Oakley's?
I think it's Oakley's, right?
Like the baseball player glasses normally.
Yeah. I think it was like the runner ones too.
I gotta like wonder like if you're gonna get burnt. Like that's my biggest thing is like getting burnt.
I don't think
you better bring sunscreen.
I don't think you've thought about anything more than just the running, which is going to actually be one of the smallest components to think about for this run.
Yeah.
And that's just
nutrition.
That's just the raw truth. That's just authentic. Yeah, nutrition. You got running shoes. You got gels. You got
insane, dude. Yeah,
so much to think about.
You're gonna spend 2 weeks out at the freaking gym on freaking what are those stupid gels? The honey stinger gels.
Yeah.
I love those things.
I know you do.
You're gonna start snorting them, dude.
Take them off his nose.
I'm gonna need to.
He's gonna be mashing up the waffle ones, just doing lines with them.
Dude, I used to I had a minor addiction with those, and I used to take them after 4-mile runs.
No need, bro.
We would have our West Edge runs, and I would just pop a honey stinger just for no need. It was a reward. Those things were so good, like the tropical smoothie. Where it was a reward.
Yeah,
it just tasted so good. It was just
that's crazy.
Yeah. To touch a little bit on what you said about the Murph, I feel like it's appropriate to bring up because obviously the position that you were offered and now have is event director, and that was a position that I sat in last year, and I was lucky enough to have a great team, including you on it, and we put on a great event. But I think one of the coolest things and why it was a cool topic to have you on for is I remember I was talking to Kyle, and we were kind of talking about because I had a meeting with him prior to talking to you and stuff like that, and I had asked him, who are you thinking for that role? And he had said your name, and he was like, what do you think about that? And I said, honestly, that's who I would give it to. And I said, the main reasons are, one, you're going to be leading a team. And when it comes to leading a team, you have to lead with authenticity. Mm-hmm. You have to lead with vulnerability. You have to lead with humility. And the one thing that I communicated to him most importantly was, you're not afraid to step up and be, blunt about things, and to stand up in that position, in a leadership position, acknowledge the fact that I still don't have it all figured out, but nobody else is going to stand up here, so I'm going to do it. And I think one of the coolest things that I realized, I've always known that, but I think one of the coolest ways that came through and really what showed that to me is that morning of setup for the Murph. When the previous night, you happen to be there when the executive team is game planning the next morning, we're all, everybody's on edge. It was a bad look on my part, everybody's on edge, nobody's in a good mood. It's been all day long. We're stealing stages. Not a good look. And
on camera.
They know. They're well aware we took it. Sorry. But anyway, that next morning, and it was kind of okay, you and I think it was Rachel, right?
Yeah, it was Rachel and Bill.
You need to get the volunteers, all 80 of them that we had or whatever, and you need to get the entire outdoor layout set up. Right. And at this point, we didn't have an outdoor layout. We had one, but it was completely scratched because we had cars in the parking lot. We weren't supposed to be there. It's hard to whole big thing.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I didn't get to see it, but I heard it. How you just literally stepped up and just told commanded the volunteers yo, we need this done now. Go grab chairs, go grab tables, get it done, get it out. And within literally 12 minutes, the entire outdoor was set up. It was now granted we had 80-man team.
Dude,
So like
it was
we were cooking, bro.
It was a squad.
But like
yeah.
your ability to stand up and just kind of command that and not be afraid, I think is one of the biggest things that I admire about you. And one of the biggest things that I was able to communicate to like Kyle, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons is because I told Kyle, like, listen, man, and I think it's supposed to be any kind of walk in life, anything you get into, even if you're going to be professional in the field, like engineering, you're not going to know what you're doing half the time.
Right.
Like you are, but like you're not really.
I hope I do.
Yeah, you should. Like, there's gonna be so many aspects of it that you have no idea because you've never experienced it, you've never dabbled in it, and for you to stand up and be like, you know what, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm gonna figure it out, or like I'm still gonna lead, and I think it's a really cool leadership quality that all three of us exemplify, and like, man, we're willing to say, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. Like, how many conversations do we have that both him and I were just like, bro,
I don't know what I'm
we
doing.
have no, we don't know what we're doing. We are
I
steering the ship blind.
remember we had the walk.
The walk in
Like the
trail.
midnight walk trail.
I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, no, literally
Screaming.
But to be able to do that, like, so that's actually a great question to ask now. Is like hearing that from, you know, president and you know, at that time I was the superior to you. I don't, you know, you didn't see it that way,
yeah.
but yeah, that was the way. You know, that was the way the hierarchical period flew. Did it scare you? Did it alter your opinion on us? Did it build less trust in us, or do you think it built more trust, more vulnerability for us to stand up and say, you know what, we don't know exactly what we're doing, but we're just going to keep pressing forward, we're going to keep telling everybody about this, we're going to keep moving forward with the mission? How did that come off to you? Because I think it's a great thing to talk about so that you know how it's going to come off to other people, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true. In the moment, I thought it was so funny. I was like, I mean, these two guys are out here. For me, I thought it was funny more in the aspect of like, you guys are like, I don't know what I'm doing, but from my perspective, everything was going so well and so swimmingly. Now, obviously, like sometimes on our walks, so like our phone calls, like I would hear that everything's not going so smoothly, and right there, you know, curveballs are getting thrown left and right, and but I think you guys being vulnerable with that was like, okay, you know, I see these guys, like I put you guys, like you guys are awesome, and I love you, and you guys are amazing, but I'm like, okay, but they're still human, you know, like obviously this is something so new for us, and so it's cool to see that we're all kind of going through the ringer a little bit. So yeah, definitely that definitely it did, but it didn't alter how I think. No way.
Yeah,
it wasn't enough for that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's something I guess just kind of hitting me out curiosity of like, I wonder what that looked like from an outside perspective, from somebody who got, because not everybody on that team, most of the people on the Murph team didn't get that inside look that you got, you know, from the conversations with just you and I, or us three together, or you and him, that inside look of like, everything on the outside looks like it's going swimmingly, and it is going swimmingly. Things are moving forward well, and God is continuing to guide this. But on the inside, it's like, man, what are we doing? Like we have no idea, and it was funny to us a lot of the times. Of like, bro, what is happening right now? Like, why is it us? Why are we doing this?
I think we were like, even like there was like one instance we were like riding in like the elevator in the warehouse, and we're like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, no, literally. Like,
what are we doing in a warehouse elevator?
Like, we're taking this 6 trips back and forth from the
oh
to the
my gosh, bro. Oh my
we had to
gosh.
go play like the scavenger hunt, trying to
oh my gosh, dude.
reallocate those pull bars.
But I mean, those were the best times. Bringing back an authentic conversation. So those were the best times for those conversations. I think in my life, I don't know how you guys can relate to this, but I think the best times the best conversations I've had with people have been from like those divine interruptions of like, I wasn't supposed to see this person today. I wasn't supposed to end up grabbing lunch with them. I wasn't supposed to like run into them, but like, man, we're running them. Yeah, like spontaneous. I ran into them, and man, we had a great conversation, and that's super uplifting. You know, and even like, guys, this is I'm gonna be honest. I don't think this has anything to do with it, but it just kind of went on the lines of like uplifting. Today I was driving down the road. I was leaving campus. Again, has nothing to do with this. I saw a girl jamming her heart out in the car as we were leaving campus, and it put a smile on my face because I just thought, you know what, she has no idea nobody sees her, but she's being and that was literally a thought, she's being authentic to herself, and like she's just jamming whatever song she got. Hopefully she had a song going on, because if not, she was a little crazy. But she was being authentic to herself, and it put a smile on my face because I was like, you know what, good for her, because she has no idea people are watching her. Maybe she does think somebody's watching her,
doesn't care,
but she doesn't care. And I think that's the beautiful thing about kind of being authentic, is not caring of other people's opinions, and just being willing to kind of move forward. But yeah, I think that's where the balance comes in too, of like how do I not care about people's opinions, but how do I also take certain people's opinions in? And I think you have to balance that pretty well and not care about a lot of people's opinions that you don't know. That's what I was trying to say is like, I don't care about that many people's opinions. I care about my family's opinions. I care about my friends' opinions. And when it comes to certain things, like there's been plenty of times where he's had an opinion on something, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, quite frankly, it's not that important. I don't care all that much. Like, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. Right. And it's things like working out and stuff like that. Nothing like super, super important. Yeah. But just small things like that. So.
Yeah, but also like I got to relate back to like the spontaneous nature just like, of those honest conversations. I remember like even just like our spontaneous trips that we took. We took a trip to DC, random, but like our conversations were amazing in that car ride and walking around in DC, seeing like the Amish people, walking to the Museum of Bible or the Bible Museum, the random trip that we did in the freaking coal mountains. But like it is like out of spontaneous nature that like all those really cool, honest, deep conversations come from. And I think a lot of the times that we live in this like A to B to C to D world, but like sometimes like jump from A to M, M to Z, Z to B. You don't have to always travel in that linear road. And I think it's so cool like just to be able to live in that free will of life to be able to jump around that, because I mean the best conversations I've ever had were not just, oh, I gotta go to this meeting, I gotta go to this meeting. It's the, oh shoot, let's go to freaking water tower and go hit golf balls and just have a goofball all the time, and just to be actually human and being authentic with ourselves. And so
Would you say that, because I would say from an outsider perspective, I think you would exemplify yourself this way as well, is you're a pretty linear, pretty structured, organized person when it comes to like scheduled and being, you know, like, which I think is a great quality. It's something that I have or something that you have. But I know something college has done for me. It's really opened up that like unserious side, that spontaneous, like everything doesn't need to be structured, planned, and like allow a little bit of room for creativity to flow. Would you say that's how you've always been, is like super structured, and college has done that for you? Would you say like, what would you say like on that?
Man, if you take me back like before last semester as for engineering, like junior engineers was like hell. It was awful. It was not fun, and we were all kind of going through it. And that's when like my like scheduling like really was like, all right, listen, like my friends like, you want to do this tonight? I'm like, bro, you have to ask me like 5 days in advance. So I'm just not gonna be able to do it. Even now, it's like if I have like I make a plan, like it's in the calendar. If and like, or like I'll like go make a to-do list and like time everything. But you go back a year ago, oh dude, I was going with the flow.
Really?
And it was amazing. It was so fun. Because I had a lot less stress. Grades weren't as good, I guess. But especially like, I mean, over the summer, obviously I give you a work schedule. But after that, it's like, hey, we're going to dinner tonight. Everyone pull up. And we're there. So that's the way like, I grew up. Was always just like, if something can happen, like a plan could be made in 20 minutes with the guys.
Interesting.
And we do it. So no, structure and like scheduling really didn't happen until like last year or semester before.
Gotcha.
So
Have you found that to be much more beneficial? Like the structure? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely like it. It's good to be structured. Like I still have to have that balance of like having fun. And because college, you know, it's 4 years there. It's supposed to be good 4 years. You know, so
you haven't hit like real responsibility yet.
Right, exactly. My bills are slight. And so it's like, but yeah, having that balance is crucial for sure. But no, I definitely enjoy the structure, keeping my day planned out.
For sure. Yeah, I think it allows it to flow all together better. But
it's needed though too, because I mean a lot of the times it's like I'm a very structured a person, but like you're gonna be miserable if you're gonna be structured all the time.
Right.
But like I mean you need those times where it's like, hey, I'm gonna go to the freaking water tower, I'm gonna go to the freaking swings or whatever, and just have a fun time.
I haven't even gone there yet.
You can go on the swings?
Alright,
field trip, we're on the swings.
After this.
But it's just I don't know, it's just we need those as humans in terms of just breaking down. And I mean there's times where you, like I try to think I'm Superman, but then I get crumbled from that because it's just not how God has made me to be. And so God made me to be human, not Superman. So
True.
Yeah, God always humble you, man.
Mm-hmm.
In some way.
Some way,
Always
shape, or
will.
form.
Yeah. Which I think, I mean, I know in my life, until I was humbled in like a really, really big way,
Yeah.
I never came to appreciate that, And I think that's authentic in and of itself of like the Lord of the universe. One of my favorite chapters, a couple chapters in the Bible is Job 38 through 40, and it's for those who don't know the story. Job gets tested, and he loses a ton of stuff, and he never really turns on God in a way of losing his faith. At one point he just starts going at him, and he never stops talking to God, and that's one of the beautiful things about it is he never stops talking to God. But at one point he turns almost in an anger way at him, and not cursing him out, but like just start talking to him like he's not the God of the universe who created him and everything else.
Right.
And man, in these 3 chapters, like the Lord goes in, bro. Like it's intense. Like he just talks about how like, was Job there when he stretched the entire universe? Was Job there when he called the waters out of the dark? Like just all these different things. And just like, Job goes back to being, who he truly is, which is a creation from the Lord.
Yeah.
And very quickly gets humbled and kind of, I think that's a beautiful example of how we should handle those conflicts if they do come up in our lives, of somebody coming at us and saying, hey, listen, I see this going on. And I think, if you get hit that hard, then I think you should step back and say, all right, you know what, I respect you, and I think you're right with that. And I think that's the best way to go about it. And I think you can think about it in a way of like, this is the Lord humbling me through somebody else. Because the Lord does work through people. The Lord works through the Holy Spirit that lives inside of the believers, and I think that's a super cool way you can think about it. Is now I'm not thinking about them as a person who's coming at me with their own flaws, because I think that's another way we can look at people is like, oh, who are you to tell me?
Yeah.
Like take the log out of your eye before you I don't remember the exact verse of that verse, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
I do. But I think if you can almost think about it in a way of like, well, is this the Lord humbling me? Then that puts it in the real perspective of like, I'm not going to give attitude to God,
Yeah.
Like, let me take a step back, But yeah, that just kind of clicked with me now. So.
And also like honest conversations though too. We're gonna have to start wrapping this up a little bit because we're kind of getting to that point. But my last thought between like honest conversations is like, how are you gonna have honest conversations with your wife? How are you gonna have honest conversations with your kids? Having that alive perspective of always letting them view eternity. My biggest thing is like I'm training. Like we have this model at Liberty Training Champions for Christ, but like I'm training myself again because I have to prepare myself to have honest conversations with my wife. Right? I'm not going to go out there and cheat with a random woman. I'm not going to go out there and tell my wife that I'm doing X, Y, and Z when like it just you got to be able to be truly authentic, transparent.
So we're gonna clip this, play it at your wedding.
I hope so. Yeah, show it to my future wife.
Future Mrs. Bull.
But like I think it's so important to like just be trained up now. And so like how are you being trained up now? So like when you have your wife Taylor, or when you have your wife Christian, and what does that look like now in terms of that conversation? Because again, you're my best friend, but I have a higher best friend, and that's gonna be my wife one day. And so, I'm sorry, Christian.
It's tough to get married in the spring.
We were supposed to, but it just didn't pan out. But
not pan out.
What are your thoughts on that, though? I guess like the most honest conversations I feel like are gonna be with your wife.
Right.
That's just my honest opinion.
And I feel like that it's hard to answer until I get to that point, because I feel like I'm gonna be. I feel like my talks with her are just gonna be like different than like my talks with y'all. Maybe.
Because there's like different
There's
levels
gonna be
to it.
It's a different relationship.
There's gonna be a lot more emotions, feelings
Oh,
involved.
heck no, bro. No way.
You're gonna have to start dabbling in that. You're gonna have to find yourself a woman that doesn't mind not dabbling in that.
Right.
You wanna know that? Listen, let me say something real quick.
So
I stole this from Joe Moore, who got it from his dad. So I don't know.
But
But his dad has said the F word is not what you think it is when it comes to women. It's feelings. The F word is feelings. Anyway, go ahead. I should have thrown that in
no,
there.
I mean I don't.
Shout out Joe Moore.
Shout out Joe Rogan. What a guy. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's tough. It's because I feel like, especially with a woman, feel like you're gonna address talks a little bit more differently than with a guy. Maybe, unless you like marry a really tough woman, you know.
You could.
I'm not going to.
I suggest approaching it the same way as a man.
So I feel like either way, it's gonna be a different kind of dynamic between the two of you. So I feel like that's kind of tough to answer, but I feel like the talks you have now will help prepare you for that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if I can be more vulnerable with like my guy friends, I can 100% more vulnerable with the woman of my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's really. I think that's for sure true. I think you need to be more vulnerable with the guys who are, mostly every second of your life throwing crap at you, busting your balls, like really not being real serious. But you can have those conversations with them and be vulnerable to say, like, listen, we need to talk. This is what's going on in my life. Like, I'm not doing well. Like, this is what's happening. I think that makes it so much easier to approach women who are naturally more gonna have those open arms of like, come tell me what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, I think every single day, I think is any conversation you have is training you for that next conversation because you're getting the experience. And I think if you're mature enough to take a step back from as many conversations as possible and be like, how did I communicate in that? Was I authentic to myself? Did I really communicate how I feel?
Yeah.
And not back down because I felt differently. Then I think there's so much growing in that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where, that's where that is for sure. But we're I'm 21, 22, or I'm 20. Sorry, you're 21.
He doesn't even know his own age. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, with a bunch of old guys, but yeah, I mean, we had a lot of growing to do, right? Like
so much growing.
A lot to work on. And,
oh my
so,
gosh.
yeah, what do you got? Final thoughts there?
Final thoughts. I love how Isaac said it because I think he got it from you or Nick Bear, but like.
They're two very different people to get things from, but all right.
But like
talking about Isaac Frazier.
What was the complacency thing that you always say? Like being like not complacent, but like being content with like your situation.
Oh yeah, I think one big thing that
wasn't complacency.
No, it wasn't complacency. Contentment, I think, is the biggest thing. Him and I have talked about that a lot.
Which goes
just go ahead.
No, where does it go again?
I don't know.
I'm blanking on it.
I'm blanking on it too. I thought it was just kind of.